here with a good friend of mine, Gregory Triggs, and I just want to say thank you for doing a follow-up interview and doing a part two for my talk show.
Well, happy holidays. I'm happy to be here.
No, absolutely. Now, everyone can tell from your background and from the hat on my head, this is a special Christmas edition, and I just want to say once again, it's a real honor. Last time we talked was about 2 years and 8 months ago.
Oh,
Actually, no, actually it wasn't 2 years. It's going to be 2 years in this June. So actually it's been a year and 7 months.
about a year and a half, yeah.
But still, you look great. And I finally updated my quality, so I look a lot better. So, like I said, I'm a work in progress.
Aren't we all?
Now, with that being said, I don't mean to hesitate, I apologize. I'm going to hint towards the first interview. People can go to that as Uncensored Season 2. All they have to do is type your name in. Also, the link will be in the description. But I'm going to hint towards the first time we talked. And I'm going to ask you some more hard-hitting questions this time. And you can do the same thing. Gloves off. So whatever you want to talk about.
Hard hit away.
So starting off, how many years have you been an actor? Number one. Number two, who influenced you? And let's start off with those two.
Okay. Well, depending on how you look at it, Keith, I have been an actor for over 40 years because my grandmother gave me acting lessons. My grandmother had been a singer in London during the World War, and she was a bit of a stage grandmother, but a very gentle one. And she gave me acting lessons for my 6th birthday. And so I started acting then, but I became a professional actor when I was 21. I started doing dinner theater in Wisconsin, where many great careers are born. And as far as my influences go, I've always moved towards actors who created their own material, hence my relationship with improvisational comedy, which is my background as a performer. So I would have to say my biggest influences are Lily Tomlin, maybe, Steve Martin. I really appreciate him. People who thought outside the box and brought their personality to their performance. I always really liked people like that.
Well, on the subject, do you think I'm outside the box, or do you think I'm still in the box, but at the same time trying to break through?
I think you're very entrepreneurial, Keith. So I would say outside the box, building your own box. How's that?
Yeah, that sounds perfect.
Yeah.
Now, the second question is, actually you answered both of them perfectly. Have you been any extras in any movies, TV shows, and do you plan on being any extras?
I was an extra in the 80s in Orlando, and I absolutely hated it. I have friends who have made a nice living for themselves doing that kind of work, and good for them, different answers for different people. But, gosh, I was in some of the world's worst movies in the 1990s, and I did a lot of TV shows on Nickelodeon. And now, when I'm on television, which isn't all that often, it's more like this, representing ideas or different projects I'm working on and things like that. So I'd never say never, but I don't have any current plans right now.
No, absolutely. Now, you mentioned you did some god-awful background extras. Could you give us a perfect example on movies you were talking about or TV shows?
Never did, just did background stuff on things that shot in Orlando, so all the Nickelodeon sitcoms in the early 1990s. But then from that, I started getting cast in different series, all of which were on Nickelodeon. So I appeared on Clarissa Explains It All and Keenan and Kel.
Right.
I was a regular on a game show called Launchpad, stuff like that. And then I was in a few movies in Minneapolis and in Orlando, but none of which deserve to be seen again.
No, absolutely. And I grew up watching Clarissa Explains It All, Keenan and Kel, and recently on think it was Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon, one of them did a sketch that they reunited Keaton and Kel.
Oh, that's nice. It's probably Jimmy Fallon because that shoots in New York, and Jimmy Fallon has the Keenan tie-in to Saturday Night Live, so I'm guessing that. But that's cool that they were reunited. Was it fun?
It was pretty interesting. A lot of people, my dad didn't like it because he didn't know what was going on. But I liked it because it's kind of like, oh, it's funny to see these two together. What I didn't know is not, what was it? Not the heavyset guy. The other one was the one draped on his face.
Yeah.
I didn't know he had a drug problem. So it's very interesting that that explains where he's been all those years.
Yeah. He was very talented. He was a really nice guy.
And the other one was on Snakes in the Plane. He got a start there too.
Oh, that's cool.
Hey, better than nothing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Now, going back to the first subject, also going back to the first time we talked, you mentioned your talk show. Not the talk show, your company. Mm-hmm. Now, do you still have your company, and what can you tell us about it again?
Yes, I still have Strategic Entertainment, which is my production company, and we offer creative services to Disney Cruise Line, SeaWorld, the Tribeca Film Festival, the World Science Festival, Civic Builders, which is a nonprofit that builds charter schools in emerging neighborhoods. And then I also co-produce Broadway's Next Hit Musical, which tours the United States.
Right. Don't mind me, I tore off the hats. They're very warm. But now the next question I was going to ask you is, now who influenced you in getting in all that? You mentioned your grandmother worked in the business of acting, so that opened the door. Now, two questions in one. What means a lot more to you? Of course, your grandmother's family, oxymoron on my part. Or she wouldn't be your grandmother. But she opened the door for you to be an actor. That's number one. But now you're in a similar spot where you have this new passion of yours. What's more important to you? Do you think your grandmother opened the door for you, saying this is what it's expected of you? It's for me and your father and everyone. Do you think you feel obligated to follow in your grandmother's footsteps, or at the same time you now created your own company that we're just talking about? Do you think you're obligated to continue in that and helping other people, like me, for perfect example?
Well, I'm at a stage in my life where I do think it's important to start giving back the courtesies and opportunities that others gave me. I like to think that my grandmother's energy and generosity is part of my career still. But one of the things that's really great about improvisational comedy is it's all built on the concept of saying yes to different things. And when you say yes to different things, you get exposed to different ideas. And different ideas create new opportunity. And so I think that's what I'm obligated to do, is explore the things that come into my life and trust that they'll lead to new things. And so far that's been working out pretty well. So I think I have to thank my grandmother, but I don't feel obliged to her. I feel like just that whole concept of saying yes to things placed me in the right place at the right time. When I was 16, I went to go see a improv show at the University of Wisconsin and fell in love with it. Loved everyone in the troupe, and so I moved to Minneapolis. That's where the group was from when I was 22, and I started taking classes there. And then I was lucky enough to get in the company, the Brave New Workshop company, from my classes. And then Disney saw me in a show. I started working for Disney. I did that for 12 years before I moved to New York, and I still work with Disney, but now I'm a vendor. I'm a show director on a contract basis, which allows me to live in New York City. But I think that everything was just kind of born of the training to say yes to things, and I feel very fortunate about that.
No, absolutely. Now, the next question I was going to ask you was, what services does your company provide? I know we talked about this the first time, but for people who don't want to watch the first one because of the video quality.
Who are these people? They should watch it. My company provides creative services to companies that either have maxed out their own resources or don't keep those kinds of skills on staff. So, for example, with Disney Cruise Line, I write and direct quite a bit. I also appear on stage as a speaker for them sometimes. It all depends on the company's need, but we provide writing, directing, some design services, talent, administration, that type of thing.
No, I don't mean to put you on the spot. It's up to you. We can talk about it now or talk about it off the air. But do you think, where would I fall under the category of working together with you and them?
Gosh, I could see you being a wonderful production assistant, getting to explore different tasks. I could see you working really well with the production teams, kind of brainstorming, that type of thing. I haven't seen you in front of an audience, so I really couldn't answer how you do there.
Well, if you ever want to work together, I'm always looking.
Awesome. Well, I'll keep that in mind and send me your resume.
Yeah, appreciate it. Like I said, you can always talk about it off the air.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to pass the show over to you. Was there any subjects you wanted to talk about? Anything, at least in the way it was the holidays? This is a holiday special because we're also going to talk about the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
And don't mind me hesitating. I haven't done any interviews as of late, so my hesitation's kind of at its peak.
No problem. No problem at all. Well, I always get really reflective and sentimental during the holidays, and I guess I've been thinking a lot about all the people that help you on your way to wherever you are right now. And just, I always try to approach things with a sense of gratitude, so I'm thinking about that a lot lately these days. And I guess one thing we haven't had a chance to talk about since the last time we talked is in the spring I'll be publishing my first novel. I'm going to self-publish it, going to give that a shot, see where that leads. And it's called The Next Happiest Place on Earth. And hopefully by March 15th, people should be able to download it.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, what else?
Yeah, I'm super excited about that.
Do you have a picture of it, or?
We're still working on the cover. Like I said, it's a few months away, but it's in process. So again, it's all born of saying yes to things. You know what I mean? I was curious about writing a book, so damn it, I sat down and wrote one. Took a while, sat down for a long time, but it's written.
Well, once it's done, I would love to have you back on the show and plug it.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
Now, the next question I was going to ask you, what was your most favorite thing about the holiday season this year? And like I said, this is still the holiday weekends. Do you still have plans? And what are you doing for the new year? What are your resolutions?
Oh, my resolution is to get my book self-published and do that well and learn as much as I can about that. My husband and I are going on a trip to celebrate the new year starting on January 4th, so that's our plan. We're going to the Grand Canyon. We're going to visit some friends in New Mexico. We're going to drive Route 66 and end up in Palm Springs, which we're really excited about. And my favorite memory from the holidays so far has probably got to be, we went to a wonderful party with a bunch of new friends, and I was proud to be there with my husband. It was a beautiful night, and it kind of reminded me of the potential of new things. So I'm gonna say that's my favorite memory so far.
All right, and now in a couple minutes, I'm going to ask you some hard-hitting questions, and I just want to say beforehand, no disrespect, and in return, you can throw it back at me, and you can ask me anything you want.
Okay.
So, for actually starting off, before I do, for me, the holidays, they're fun. I have my parents. Family's very important to me, even though I am a pain in the ass. But family's very important to me. Um, my grandfather passed away on Christmas Eve,
Oh, I'm sorry.
so it's kind of like we got to call at 11:58, 11:59, so it's kind of in between Christmas Eve and Christmas Day.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people say that's his sense of humor, but it's you don't decide on what day this is later. But for the holidays, growing up, I know Hanukkah and Christmas. As I say to customers, I won't mention the store that I work in, but I do ring up people, and I do say to them, Hanukkah, Christmas. It's basically, it's the same holiday. 2, it should be on the same day. And number 3, it's the same God.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, hey, the point is, he's like, oh, you buy me something, I buy you something. It's a gift, and that's all that really matters. And there's a whole other BS story about the religion fanatics. I don't do the whole religious thing. I celebrate Christmas and Hanukkah. Why? It's a nice time of the year. And what else are you going to do with yourself?
What's the question exactly, Keith? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was just, you gave us how you felt. I'm just giving you how I felt.
Okay.
Now, the next question I was going to ask you, and I'm going to ask you 2 hard-hitting questions, and then you can ask me anything you want. Like I said, you can ask me about my disability and everything. Okay. But before we get to that, I want to point out, why am I interviewing everyone from season 1 and season 2? I mentioned this in the beginning. Now I'm going to mention it, not in this episode, but I mentioned it in the beginning from all the other episodes I did. Basically, I interviewed everyone from my phone, and I had the camera. I don't have the camera on me. So basically, I got the image from the phone, took it from the camera. So camera got it from the phone got it from the camera, whatever. That was season 1. Season 2, I got the camera recording from the computer screen. And a lot of people was like, well, why didn't he do it like this in the first place? I didn't want to do A+ material right off the bat. I wanted to show people that there was a transition or a struggle, saying I had to do this, I had to do that. So season 1 was from the phone, season 2 was from the camera, computer screen to the camera, and now season 3, besides doing double interviews, is now I have Skype recorder. And so going on to season 4 that I will hopefully get to in a couple of months. And it's, I don't know, I just wanted to show people what's a transition. That was number 1. And you didn't know anything about this, so this is news to you. And number 2, I was looking back at the interviews, and I had people coming out of the woodwork. And I want your honest opinion, and this is the second part I'm going to ask you. The second part was, I had people coming out of the woodwork saying, yeah, my agent or my publicist said, or whatever person said to me, I take down the interview was degrading, you were lying to people, it was this, I was that. So I want to have you on the record. You can say your honest opinion that I'm an asshole, I'm this, I'm that. But when I first approached you a year ago and now, so I want your honest opinion when I first approached you the very first time, and I want your honest opinion the second time when I approached you again. When I approached you, what was your honest opinion, and what made you say yes? And you can say anything you want.
Okay, well, You talk about your disabilities or challenges, and that's something I'm very passionate about because two of my siblings have some challenges, and I always feel as though if someone's trying to do something to improve their situation or their lives, unless I have a reason that I can't do it, I should do it. And I have no regrets having done the first interview with you, and I'm excited to see that it's continued to evolve and you've kept growing. So, I am not burdened with publicists or reporters at this point, so I'm more than happy to support that. And I think it kind of all goes back to the spirit of saying yes. There's no reason not to support you. I admire what you're trying to do for yourself and for similar people. So that's why you have my support.
No, I appreciate it. And what's your honest opinion? Well, we're just shooting right now. We're shooting, shooting the breeze
Mm-hmm.
and everything. What's your honest opinion? Say, put yourself in my position,
Mm-hmm.
where you did a great interview and everything, and all of a sudden these people come out of woodwork saying, "Oh, it was blah blah this or blah blah that," publicists or whatever, telling me to take it down. Where, first off, we could always edit it. Number one.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, we can always redo it. Number two. But do you think they're just looking out for themselves, or do you think they just don't care and they think, oh, it's a joke? Why do you think they just come out of woodwork and said, I want nothing to do with you? After 6 months to a year
Yeah.
of them saying you're doing a wonderful thing.
Well, people change. People keep growing. I've certainly directed or worked on projects that people later, it didn't suit their ambitions as their ambitions continued to evolve. And, I tend to think, and it's probably kind of a sugar-coated point of view, but everyone's doing the best they can at any given moment. So I kind of think as frustrating as the situation you described must be, you should feel good about the fact that people are being honest with you, and that if you are in the process of growing, you have to accept that other people are too, and that their opinions and ambitions are going to change. And sometimes that can be a little messy, but it's certainly nothing to take personal, and it's certainly nothing that should inform how you feel about what you're doing. The world is what the world is.
No, absolutely. Now, the last subject I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to ask you one hard-hitting subject and to pass it back to you, and you can ask me anything you want.
Okay.
And it's called discrimination. So what's your acting? What's your company? And what's the whole thing with gay rights and everything?
Mm-hmm.
And throw myself under the bus with you. With being handicapped and mentally challenged. Do you think it's our responsibility to show people, say, hey, I may be gay, but look at what I can do, or perfect example, I'm handicapped, mentally challenged, even though I do hide it, but I do have it. Do you think it's just a label, it doesn't mean anything, and that you should prove to people that, hey, you may want to label me as this or that, but that doesn't dictate how I'm going to live my life and everything? And I know that was a hard-hitting subject. I don't mean any disrespect, but...
No. Mm-hmm. I think everyone's got something that they could feel self-conscious about or have to overcome if they give it power. I personally think that my lifestyle is no one's business but my own, and as long as I'm honest about it, the chips are going to fall where they're going to fall. And certainly we are all a bundle of strengths and weaknesses, and we are all some combination of things that we're working toward or working against. And some people are going to get hung up on that, and that can be frustrating, and it can hurt your feelings. But ultimately, the person doing the judging is the one who is going to be dealing with a bigger limitation. And that's their problem. And all you can do in those situations is hopefully lead by example, or just not even lead, but just be a good example and live up to your potential or exceed it.
No, absolutely. I didn't mean to throw you a curveball, but
No.
it's uncensored, and I tried to make every episode different and start
No curveball. No worries.
Now, throwing a curveball back at me, like I just said, I'm mentally challenged and retarded and everything, but I want you to ask me anything. So, okay, now I asked you about gay rights, and so now I want you to throw something back at me. Anything you want. I'm an open book.
Well,
fair is fair.
How do you want people to treat you in regards to how you just described yourself?
All right. Tell you a story about it. For the longest time, I used to hide the fact that I was mentally challenged and retarded. And a lot of people would say to me, well, you're mentally challenged, but you're not, retarded. And I take offense to that. And it's like, well, let's look at it like this. People describe themselves, and, you have to trying to find something without coming off racist or ignorant. There's certain groups of people that would say certain words or certain type of slangs, but it's okay for them to say it because that's their culture. So I know being handicapped and having a disability isn't a culture or a lifestyle, or it could be in one sense or another. But I used to hide it. I used to, I put a face on, a whole that. Yeah, I bet you did the same thing. You put a face on and you hide it. But it came to a point where it says, who are you trying to impress? Because this is your life. It's not your karma if you have some ignorant asshole saying you're giving you a hard time because you're gay, or you're giving me a hard time because I'm mentally challenged, because we're easy pickings, especially for me, because he's mentally challenged, he's weak, he's defenseless, so he's easy to get hold of, and someone like you who's big and strong, you can easily knock the person right on their ass. But it's just survival of the fittest, kind of like how people, they look at the situation as in saying, okay, who's the weakest out of the group? I'm not saying that I'm proud of the fact I have a disability. God gave me this a certain hand that I have to deal with. And there are a lot of people who have it a lot worse. A good friend of mine who's actually in a wheelchair, he's paralyzed, but he's a filmmaker. And I have to send him a video, happy birthday thing on Celebrity CM, doing a little plug for that. But basically, he's more qualified than I am. He has worked on some feature films, and it's like, this guy is amazing. He's paralyzed. He has a serious palsies, but he's a filmmaker. And regardless of all that, he's in a wheelchair, he's a filmmaker. And he's working with all these big name stars. And hey, he can do laps around me anytime. And, people saying to me, why am I doing this? You live only once. And I would like to turn myself into a perfect example of saying, in the beginning, I said to people that I'm turning myself into a perfect example for people deaf, blind, or in a wheelchair. Would have been nice if someone said to me at the time, it's a nice thought, but you really need to change your wording. So because they said to me, one, you're a hypocrite. It's like, well, how am I a hypocrite? One, you're not deaf. Two, you're not blind. And three, you're sure as hell not in a wheelchair. So how are you a perfect example of that? So now what I say to people is I'm turning myself into a perfect example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities or disabilities. But you should never give up, and you should prove to people, no matter what, you can still mount to something. It doesn't matter if you're gay, it doesn't matter if you're handicapped, it doesn't matter whatever labels people want to throw at you and try to ruin things for you. It's all about doing the right thing, going the extra mile, and making a difference in someone's life. It's the thought that counts. Period. I don't care if people like that or, I'm blowing smoke out of my ass. When I die, and eventually we all die, I would like to say, okay, here's a handful of stupid things I did, but let's look at the same time of all the good things that I did. And I try to make all the good stuff outweigh my stupidity. And I know I asked you a lot of stupid questions. I apologize.
You're too hard on yourself, Keith. You didn't ask me any stupid questions. You asked me questions you're curious about. That's the most important thing. So, and a friend of mine a long time ago taught me that there is no such thing as a stupid question, and I believe that. And we're living in a time of incredible change.
Right.
And 3 years ago, 4 years ago, my marriage wasn't legal. It's legal now, all around the United States. People are challenging definitions of media. They're challenging, Bitcoin challenges money. We're all challenging the way we look at the government and what we expect from it. It's just a time of unprecedented change. And if we aren't kind to each other, it's going to be a lot harder than it needs to be. And I just try to remember that everyone's doing the best they can.
No, absolutely.
So anyway, I need to run, unfortunately. So I will send you the information that you said you needed from me, and we'll keep in touch, okay?
Well, before you go wrapping up, do you want to say anything to your fans and listeners? I just want to say it's a real honor and privilege to have you on the show once again.
Well, thank you, Keith, and thank you for the opportunity to shoot my mouth off. Anyone who's watching, I hope you had a wonderful holiday and that you have the best of New Year's.